What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be on shadow work. What is shadow work and why should you do it? So the famous psychologist Carl Jung coined this term shadow work, and he started referring to the shadow as parts of people's psyche that they do not know. So another way of putting that is we have two parts to ourselves. We have a conscious aspect of ourselves and we have a subconscious aspect of ourselves. Now, consciousness is usually referred to as light, right? It's the light of consciousness. Whereas if something isn't conscious, well, it's lacking light. So oftentimes you'll hear people say we need to shine a light on our shadow. Our shadow is the unconscious parts of ourselves that we don't recognize and that we haven't integrated into our conscious expression. Now, that's what our shadow is. But why is this important? Like, how does this play a big role in our lives, and why do we need to integrate it and learn about it? Well, what we have as a part of ourselves that we don't recognize often gets embedded into that unconscious aspect of ourselves from a young age. So let's say you're born and you have a very definite sense of self, you're very confident, and you always speak your mind, but maybe that was looked down on. The people in your family were maybe threatened by your confidence, or they just didn't like that you spoke with such assertion and that you had so much to say, so they always talked down on you for that. Maybe they got angry at you. And so you repressed that aspect of yourself. And now you don't convey yourself with the same confidence that you did maybe when you were 3, 4, and when you started to become 5, 6 years old, you started to repress it more and more. Now you're 25 and you're not very confident. Well, deep down, maybe there's a part of you in your shadow, the part of you that you don't recognize that's been repressed, and that would serve you to reintegrate that into your life. Now, that's a sort of a positive thing that might be embedded in your shadow. But it's also a very popular notion that your shadow, because of the nature of the way it's named, it's like a dark place, that it's largely containing negative aspects of yourself. Now, that's not entirely true. Like I just said, maybe you have confidence that was repressed, and that confidence is a part of your shadow. That's you might find that confidence is a positive quality that you value, but that's a part of your shadow. So it's not true that your shadow contains only negative aspects of yourself, but it's a very common misconception. So it's important to shed some light on that. No pun intended. Maybe a little bit. So this is why most people think about the shadow as a negative aspect. Like I said, because of the name inherent to the darkness in it, you might kind of feel a negative connotation, shadow. But it's also because there is a lot of maybe negative aspects in the shadow, or parts and traits of yourself that you think are negative and that you don't find desirable qualities for yourself to have. But you do have them, and they're just embedded in your shadow. So let's say that you're a senior in high school, and there's somebody that, let's think of an example here. Let me go back. I'm gonna use a different example. Let's say that you were a really angry child for whatever reason. Right? There's reasons for our anger, but let's say that those reasons were never touched upon. Maybe you didn't have the greatest parenting or whatever. And your anger was largely suppressed as well. So the first example was that you were suppressing your confidence. But let's say that you were a very angry child. You were always made to feel bad about your anger. Maybe you were scolded about your anger a lot. Your anger wasn't understood by the people around you, so you just received a lot of negative feedback in response to your anger. Well, that's a part of you that you're going to repress. If it always gets negative feedback, that might be a part of you that you've gone on to repress. So you're really angry, but it's internal. and you don't really voice it a lot because of our survival mechanism to fit in with the group, to fit in with our family and our peers. We didn't get angry as much because we got really negative feedback and disapproval from it. So we go ahead and we repress our anger, and now it's a part of our shadow. But the thing about our shadow is that it still comes up in our lives. It still kind of drives our behavior a little bit. It's just unconscious. So we might still get very angry about things, but we just don't voice it to someone, to that person that made us angry, let's say. So I know a lot of people in my life actually that kind of have this trait where their anger is a shadow, where when they're angry, they don't express their anger to the person that they're angry at. They only express their anger in an environment where they feel comfortable to do so. So maybe they went to work and their coworkers made them really angry, or their boss made them angry, they're not treating them right, and so on. But instead of dealing with that anger in a healthy way, recognizing that it's there, that's the first step. That's very important in dealing with negative emotions. Emotions that we don't find desirable, is recognizing that they're there. So maybe they don't even recognize that it's there in the first place, and they just kind of steer their ship and take action according to appeasing their coworkers and not repressing the anger, but getting somebody else not to be angry anymore. But then that person made them angry, right? But they don't express that. They just, do whatever it is. Maybe they ignore it, they repress it, they have like a coping mechanism. They don't express that, hey, you made me angry in doing that. I don't appreciate that. Please stop, which would be healthy. Instead, what happens is they repress it, they keep it down inside in their shadow, and then maybe they go express it when they feel comfortable to be vulnerable in an environment, maybe let's say their family. This is a very common thing, actually. A lot of people, it's kind of a stereotype where you come home from your work day and, you were just going through the motions, and then they come home and you're really angry because you hate your life. You're not happy with your work or whatever. You're just an angry person, but you don't voice that out in the world. You only voice it in your home where you feel comfortable, let's say. This is just for the sake of an example. You don't even recognize that that's there. You don't even know that that's happening. You don't see that you're an angry person because you don't get a lot of feedback from your environment, such as your workplace, that you are an angry person. And you're also not conscious of your own emotion. Hence, it's part of the shadow, right? It's embedded in the shadow. There's no conscious light being shed on that aspect of yourself. Now, that's one example. And in another case, it might be that the person doesn't express their anger at all. Not in the workplace, not at home where they feel comfortable, because maybe they don't feel comfortable at home. So they just build up all this anger, and then it just ends up getting repressed into depression. That's actually a very common thing too. A lot of anger, a lot of frustration that gets repressed actually ends up becoming depression, because you're not expressing that fire that's inside of you, and you're not dealing with it in a healthy way, let alone expressing it just by getting angry. And so it eats away from the inside, and you grow to become very depressed. So these are just a couple examples of what might be in your shadow. Now you can see where these are very important things to integrate into your conscious self. So there's parts of you that you don't recognize that are there. There's unconscious parts of you, and chances are they're actually causing a lot of problems in your life if there's some of those negative aspects that we talked about, because they're expressing themselves in other ways, or they're eating you alive from the inside. They're still there. They're just in a dark room. And this is where your demons, that expression comes from. Your demons are embedded in your shadow. It's like parts of yourself that you don't really know too well. You've kind of rejected them. But also, the positive aspects of your shadow, this is where this will become contributing to problem areas in your life. If you have characteristics that you would find positive that you're embedding in your shadow, Well, by keeping them there and not expressing them out into the world, you're limiting yourself and who you can be. So maybe if you're a very confident person, but you were taught because of your survival mechanism to fit into a group to repress that confidence, well, you can see where that is a limitation in your life now. You're not a confident person, and confidence is a great quality that's going to help you grow. It's going to help you be your authentic self. Maybe you have fear in authentically expressing yourself because you have rejected that confident aspect of yourself. Now, that's probably not as common, but you know what? Actually, I shouldn't even say that. I don't know. I know quite a few people actually that have rejected a confidence in themselves. A lot of people that are shy, that's actually probably why. They've probably rejected a confidence in themselves. For other reasons that maybe not because it's a characteristic that they had and that they've put into their shadow, but for various other reasons. Anyways, getting a little bit off topic, but yeah, you can see where that's what your shadow is. It's parts of yourself that you have either rejected or not come to accept, but overall you just don't really know that they're there. They're unconscious, they're subconscious parts of yourself, and then the part that the light is shed on is your conscious self. So it's important to do shadow work for the reasons like I already discussed. It's going to help you grow in your life. It's going to help you become more emotionally aware, emotionally intelligent. It's going to help you get to know yourself better. Because if we have these two parts to ourselves, this being our shadow and this being the part of ourself that the light of consciousness is shined on, this is still a part of ourself. We just don't know it's there. And we're not in harmony with ourselves, that's going to cause us a lot of problems. So that's why it's very important to do shadow work. You'll get to know yourself better. You'll come to express yourself better. You'll come to cope with your emotions better and understand them better and become more emotionally intelligent. And you'll see problem areas in your life starting to go away, but that's not really the case. You'll just start to understand how to better approach them, and instead of problem areas, you'll find the problem's solutions. I think that's all I wanted to say today about what is the shadow and why it's important to do shadow work. Now, actually, before I sign off, I want to talk a little bit about how you can do shadow work. So, one of the biggest things to show us parts of our own shadow is our triggers. So when something upsets us or kind of sets us off in someone else, we find ourselves judging an aspect of someone else, there's a good chance that that part that we're judging, in one way or another, we actually have in ourselves too, but it's in our shadow. It's parts of ourselves that we haven't come to accept and we've repressed and rejected. And that's why there's a trigger. That's why you get an emotional reaction. Maybe it's anger or frustration in someone else. And you have judgment towards them because really there's an aspect of yourself there that you're demonizing. And that's what happens when you create your shadow. You reject and you demonize this aspect of yourself and you throw it away in the dark room. The thing is, it doesn't actually go away when you put it in that dark room. It's still there. So it just creates a shadow, and now that's why we're here. That's why you're here. You're learning what a shadow is and how you can go about integrating it into your conscious self. So that is the number one way you're going to find out what your shadow encompasses, I guess. What's contained within your shadow is noticing what's triggering you and other people and then asking yourself, oh, is there a part of myself there? And you really have to be honest with yourself. That's important. If you're doing shadow work, you have to be really honest with yourself and say, yeah, that's an aspect of myself that I've yet to accept, acknowledge, and integrate. So that's going to be the most practical way that you can do shadow work is coming to recognize when you're getting angry at a circumstance or at another person and you're judging something, and ask yourself if you're getting angry because that's a part of you that you haven't come to accept and integrate. So that's what shadow work is. That's why it's important. and that's how you can do shadow work. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a like, subscribe to my channel for more content if you're not subscribed already, and let me know what you thought in the comments down below. I really value your feedback. And I also offer coaching calls. So if you're wanting some help with shadow work or anything else, reach out to me. I offer free consultations. We'll have a 90-minute talk, no obligation. I'll help you out through whatever it is that you need help with. And then from there, you can decide maybe you want more coaching, maybe not. But anyways, there's that offer. It's on the table for you. You can reach out to me on Instagram or send me an email. I'll include my Instagram link and my email in the description below. So that's how you can get a hold of me. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Take care. Have a nice day.